Guys, this is like the third time that I record this video, and it's so much content that I cannot fit it in 15 minutes. So let's do this again. So we're going to be talking about adverse childhood events. And these are things that happen to the child while it's 0 to 17 years old that are abuse, so physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, emotional and physical neglect, and a dysfunctional environment, meaning somebody was an alcoholic, substance abuse, somebody was incarcerated, the caregiver had some mental illness, or there was a divorce or substance abuse. So I think I touched on everything. So every time when that happens once or more than once, and the more it happens, the worse the outcome is, this affects not only the body, but also the mind, the brain. It actually changes the brain of this child. And it kind of like marks it like a cattle gets marked. And it marks the brain of this child with trauma. And it's so hard for it to change. But the good news is that you can't change. So what are the outcomes for these children that had these things? They have more alcoholism. They have COPD, so pulmonary disease, depression, substance abuse, adolescent pregnancy, autoimmune disease, less stress resiliency, more inflammatory disease. There are actually epigenetic changes, meaning the DNA is either, the genes in the DNA are either turned on or turned off because of the trauma. There's also functional physical changes in the brain. The hippocampus is shrunken, and the hippocampus is where you process your memories and your emotions and you manage stress, so that shrinks. This adult is not able to deal with stress or process its emotions very well. There is less gray matter in the prefrontal cortex that's associated with decision making and your rationality and your self-regulation. There's also less gray matter seen in MRIs of these children, that the amygdala is also less, there's less neurons there. And so they can't process fear. The amygdala is the center of the brain that you would process your fear. So you will overreact, you will be fearful as an adult. It's been shown also that children that have these events can live up to 20 years less than their counterparts that did not experience these things. So this is very important. These provide long-lasting, not benefits, definitely not benefits, long-lasting negative effects for these adults. So what can we do? So first of all, the good news is that the brain, because of neuroplasticity, meaning the ability of the brain to form new connections, we can change this by creating new pathways. So think of thoughts and things that we do that we re-traumatize and rethink and relive as you reinforcing a big avenue, reinforcing, and you just kind of go there automatically because it's so wide and big that you're always going there. What you want to do is reframe your situation and stop reliving that so that this is not reinforced anymore, and you create new pathways. But it's hard because it's like you are trying to walk in a dense forest that has no trail. You're just trying to walk through the trees and the grass and then the weeds and everything. And once you start that, it'll start forming just a little pathway, and then you walk on that more, and then you walk on that more, and then eventually you have a solid pathway that you can walk through, and you can recreate new pathways in your brain by reinforcing. So whatever you give energy, whatever your attention goes, the energy will flow there, and then that's what will grow. Okay, so the first step of dealing with the trauma is recognizing that it happened, but detach, not being a victim of it anymore. Because when you are a victim, you're putting the power onto the hands of the person that hurt you. And so you want to reframe that situation. Yes, it happened to me. Yes, it was not fair, but now I'm here now. And I am amazing, I am loyal, I am a good friend, I am a good cook, you just have to start with good affirmations about yourself. You can write it down, you can say it out loud, even if you don't believe it at first, and sometimes you don't because you were so put down as a child or that you don't really believe anything positive about yourself. It's okay to fake it until you make it, because you're creating those neuronal pathways. You are creating new avenues of thoughts in your brain, and that is possible. So you want to do affirmations such as, I am in control of my thoughts, my habits, and my emotions. So you need to learn, because you didn't learn as a child, possibly to self-soothe and to self-regulate and stop overreacting. So there are numerous techniques, and you can Google this, but you need to learn self-regulating techniques, and there are a ton on Google if you Google that, self-regulating techniques. One of them is having a bracelet. If you feel that you're going to burst, or you're going to explode on somebody, or you're going to punch somebody in the face, some people, each adult will react and overreact differently. Some people will freeze, be depressed and not do anything. Some people will just run away, fly, avoid the problem, use drugs, use alcohol, just avoidance. Some people will fight. Some people will be overly aggressive, and that's just how it is. So whatever your thing is, usually this works more for the aggressive people. Have a bracelet and snap it like an elastic, just an elastic. Snap it on yourself, because then you can. So the body is funny. When we feel a negative bodily sensation, it tells the brain, ooh, not good. It's like really a dog. So you can do that, and then you kind of like, oh, and then you can breathe. So a breath is one of the most effective tools to activating your rest and digest. So counteracting this sympathetic activation of fight, flight, or freeze by activating the parasympathetic. So the breath is one very important tool. So you can do a simple breath of counting up to 5. Inhale, count to 5, hold 5, and exhale 5. Every time you hold and exhale, you compress your vagus nerve. And you know that when you're very stressed, you either hold your breath or you breathe really quickly and shallow. So once you change that, you can count as self-soothe. There are other techniques as well. You can change your posture. So when you're very frightened and you kind of go inside, and your posture, so open your heart and smile. Just the fact of fake smiling makes neuronal firing of neurotransmitters in your brain, or serotonin. So just fake smile and change your posture, or change your state of your body. So go for a walk, go for a run, go for a swim, do your thing, choose whatever you like, dance, put one song on and dance it. And you're not going to want to do this because the body likes to be stuck in a rut. That's how we were wired. But you can form new wiring, and neurons that fire together wire together. So if you're firing neurons of going for a walk, taking a breath, saying good things about you, journaling, having a gratitude journal, doing any of the stress management coping techniques, you're causing new neurons to fire together, so they're creating new avenues for yourself. Okay, so that's what you can do, and there's plenty others. I'm going to be stuck here talking about this forever. So, what can we do as a society? So obviously as parents, you can try to do your best to not traumatize your kid, but that's easy. That's one thing. But as a society, as a family member, for example, if you know that the kid is stuck in a bad situation, and you can't really change that situation because you're not going to interfere in mom and dad's raising, you can be the safety for that child. You can tell that child that they can count on you, and that they can come and talk to you, and that it's safe for them to be and talk and express their feelings to you, and you can hug them, and you can touch them, and you can soothe them, because that's what they need. If you work with children as a healthcare professional or as a teacher, you can also be that person that, talks in a calming voice, that doesn't yell at them, that doesn't add to the stress, that recognizes that they're acting up because of something that's probably that's happening and behind the scenes, knowing how to identify that and seeking help and referring for a psychotherapy or a counselor or something like that. And obviously if there is violence, definitely do not omit yourselves and tell the authorities, because it's better for this child to be away from that environment than it is for them to grow up like that. And as a person that went through that, I was going to say victim, but we are not victims. You have to reframe what happened to you and create these neuronal pathways, these new pathways. And you can, like I said, you can choose whatever technique you want, but you want to identify your feeling. First of all, name it and it is what you're feeling and it's not what you are. So you are not depressed, you are not anxious, you're feeling sad, you're feeling angry, you're feeling frustrated. And sit with those feelings. We tend to not want to sit with bad feelings. So once you identify, okay, so right now I'm angry, and I'm angry at this. And where do I feel this anger in your body? It's very important for you to identify, because some people feel a lump in their throat. Some people feel a knot in their stomach. Some people feel a cramping. Some people feel tight shoulders. Some people clench their jaw. Some people wiggle their legs. Some people bite their nails. Where are you feeling it in your body? It's a way of sitting with your feelings. Identify, name it first as a feeling and not as who you are, because it's not your identity. Find it in your body, and then shift your body. So again, going for a walk, for a swim, for a dance, changing your posture, changing your expression. And those are all techniques that you can do. And there's always a good, always a good that comes from the bad. And you cannot, like what I posted today, owning your story is difficult, but it's much worse to just be stuck and be a victim of what happened to you and, not thrive in life. So I hope this helps. I know it's a very serious topic. It's dense, and there's so much more information to give on this, but at least I put it out there, and now you know where to go. You can Google this. There's plenty of studies on this. There's plenty of tools on this. And let's just be aware that this is something that it's not just something that happened to the child. It persists, and it really sets up this child for a world of pain that they are going to have to work through. If we can stop it in childhood, great. If we can't, fine, let's move on, and we can create new brain pathways and shift that state.